Ladies and gentlemen of crypto space, we're live on a Friday, May 3rd at 11:36 a.m. Title of the stream today is Nailed Down. Something we've discussed for years at this point, and it's imperative to understand the game that we play and the game that we play within the overall system that is constructed for us. So we're going to start the stream off. This is going to be maybe a philosophical stream. And obviously, I'll get to all questions the best I can. See how much time I have today. So, at some point, the responsibility of a fiduciary, you're responsible for your capital, is to sell it. To sell it at an opportune time. So, that's complicated. Have you been successful? Maybe you're very successful. Maybe you're not. But what I define that behavior as is work. You must identify when is the best time? And maybe it is actually the best time, or maybe it's a pretty shitty time and you made a mistake. And that is difficult. So what I've done over the years is educated myself and trained myself that is too much work. And I don't want to do that. So I wanted a different methodology. I wanted to engage with markets differently, much more akin to a traditional business owner, maybe akin to a traditional dividend investor, but in the new world of finance. So I'm not going to harp over the same topic, but I wanted to fold in a video that I saw on Twitter that was quite concerning, and I wanted to maybe get a little philosophical. As things are starting to get heated up, it's important to give context to this conversation that we have. So at some point, if you have to sell something, yeah, that shit's complicated. And you have to sell it because the market goes up and down. There's cyclicality in markets. And the nature of markets is that it's now so artificial. Looking at US dollar denominated in yen, the only way it could possibly be down is artificial intervention because of the carry trade. If you can borrow at 0% to 0.1% and lend at 5%, it's a no-brainer. And that's something we do often in the crypto market, so you guys probably have experience with that. And I say this because at some point you have to sell implies that you can potentially identify the opportune time. So how the fuck are you supposed to potentially identify the opportune time if it's not organic, if it's riddled with artificial intervention? And literally, we're not looking at a crypto chart here. We're looking at the Japanese yen, the currency of the country of Japan, and its pricing relative to the United States dollar. So if you're required to identify an opportune time to sell assets, and you're looking at the data of an asset, or you're looking at the data of countries, and at any spontaneous moment, that data could artificially change because of external actor intervention, where's the advantage? Where's the opportunity to make a good decision based on data if the data could change as you're looking at it? Which is exactly what we saw with this candle here. It's pushing past 160. There was a double intervention by Japan. And now we could talk about like what they're doing here. They're trying to figure shit out because there's no way this goes down without a deal. And kind of the only way it went down at all is with some sort of deal, maybe starting to be talked about. So the large actors that know, that have the edge of insider information that the deal may be on the table, are front running. So this is artificial and front running because they have access to information that tells them when to sell dollars into yen. Sell dollars or buy dollars. It's the way it works. So I've always been emotionally invested in understanding the way the system works. And we talk about it much more recently in terms of the crypto markets because that's what we're all excited about and that's our opportunity. But I saw this video. It's been circulating quite a bit about how it's not just disappointing, it's how disgusting the system has become. And and you can understand it, and it's imperative to understand it and not just be like, oh, hodl, oh, iron diamond hands, or the Bitcoin maximalist narrative. It's they're going to print money, buy Bitcoin. It's so important to understand the details and not just jump on a train and LARP and just be a follower. You need to understand the details if you're going to engage in a particular activity. It's imperative. So as much as we talk about the things that we invest in, you have to understand macro financials. And if you understand macro financials, you realize what we just said, that it's not organic. It's a global effort of collusion to manage these systems such that they remain functional. And that's why I often say at some point social civility is financed. Because the whole point of this, managing of these systems such that they remain functional, is such that there's social order and not chaos. And they do this to their advantage. Who's there and who's they? Status quo, established organizations, established regulators, established entities with debt, and they're able to finagle refinancing terms. And that's what this process has become, as Raoul talks about. It's just a global refinancing process and kicking the can. And we could always say it's gross and disgusting, but we understand it as we've discussed it. So this gentleman's important, but this gentleman, Jared, lacks any intellectual capacity whatsoever to explain the way the system works. And that's just multifaceted. That's disappointing. That's disturbing. That's scary. Was it Stephanie Kelton, I believe, was here? She was here. She talks about MMT and stuff. And if we could print our own money, why are we borrowing money? And that plays into a very simple fact of how the global system has been constructed. Our bonds, we borrow because we need to create bonds because the market demands bonds, and the bonds are used as collateral to print currency outside of the United States control in the Eurodollar market. So, I mean, literally, I just answered what the advisor of the president couldn't answer in one sentence. Why do we borrow money? We borrow money to print bonds, and the bonds are used by other people that buy them as collateral because the entire system is dependent on collateral since 2008, and no one's going to give an unsecured loan other than credit cards to every Jack and Joe schmuck in the United States, because it's all unsecured credit. Oh my God. So the whole world is dependent on secured credit. So fortunately, in the crypto markets, we literally are experienced with secured credit because every time you're borrowing some money, you're posting collateral. That's called secured credit. So the reason we don't just print our money, Miss Print Our Money, Queen of Printing Money, is because there's no trust in that. And that's what we've learned in crypto market terms. It's about trust. And the most important thing is determinism and immutable policy. Because otherwise the ground is shifting underneath you. Or otherwise the chart is changing before your eyes. How the hell are you supposed to make a decision if the ground is shifting underneath you and the chart is changing before your eyes? So that's where we're at. That's why people are angry whether they realize it or not. Maybe they recognize all of this. In fact, a lot of people recognize all this at a subconscious level. That's why folks are angry about consumer price inflation, because they don't understand it. And they're like, that's why you see a lot of social media posts saying, just stop. Don't let the prices go up. That's not the way it works. Consumer price inflation occurs with the Bitcoin economy as well. Consumer price inflation is merely a supply and demand imbalance. It's not what the Bitcoin maximalists say, that they print the money, the government prints the money, money printer go burr, and prices of things go up. No. It doesn't work like that. So what's important with regard to what we do in crypto markets is to understand how broken and disgusting and how self-serving the monetary authorities are, but to also recognize properties of a functional financial system that are inherent to how financials work. Like consumer price inflation is a phenomena unto itself, independent of external forces. And clearly, the Federal Reserve's capacity to extend basically unlimited credit, which is the money printer go burn meme. It's not money printer, it's extending credit, so they have a capacity to uh, extend credit in an unlimited degree. But it's not as simple as the way people think. So when you understand the nuances, you eventually hopefully come to a realization of how I look at markets, because how I look at markets is the only thing that I could possibly think of that's sustainable. It's the only thing that keeps me sane is how I've simplified this absolute disturbing shit show into something that's potentially navigatable. Otherwise, traders got to go mad. I mean, it's funny. You look at equity traders. Some of the equity traders I follow, macro traders, and they all you can see very clearly that they've all gotten loopy, weird. One of the most interesting ones is it's not a trader at all, but it's Fed guy Joseph Wang, and it's the realization that everyone has that the system is fucked. It's broken. It's been broken forever. It's been a shitty system from the start. And it's a manifestation of geopolitical global collusion. Currencies are relative. They can manage consumer price inflation. Shit, you let the banks implode and everyone's deposits go fucked. No one's buying anything. What do you think happens to consumer price inflation? You're going to have deflation. But the manufacturers are also going to implode. And you're not going to have anyone producing anything anymore. So before you know it, the whole system unravels, and there goes social unrest. So deflation is not a cure. In fact, if anything, that causes some serious pain. So it's not understood. Folks don't talk about it in the right terms. So Joseph is old school. He's old guard. He was at the Fed. And it's not just him. This is just the tip of the iceberg of folks that are quite established in financial spheres of conversation. It's like they've come to the acceptance, no matter what the fuck they do, everything's going up. Everything. Everything is going to get freaking weird. Because if it doesn't, the deflation pulls everything down. And the cascade leaves no stone unturned. And anything not nailed down gets sold for currency. But the currency will be no good because the businesses won't exist to actually buy things from. Because all the debt implodes. Every company's debt implodes. And therefore there's no company left. And maybe there's no currency left because you don't really own currency. The currency is a manifestation of credit, as we've discussed. I mean, broadly, they call it the euro-dollar market, but it's also literally bank deposits in the United States, which are euro dollars also. They're credit-created currency units. And those no longer exist in a deflationary cascade. So they have to do whatever they can to prevent the deflationary cascade, otherwise money itself doesn't exist. Even at the Fed level, all of the currency is bank liabilities. It's a Federal Reserve note. Brings up interesting conversation, like historically those were Treasury notes, and now they're Federal Reserve notes. But the Treasury notes failed. Folks like to think they have solutions and answers to this to the problem. They're like, Bitcoin fixes this. And I cringe a little, I die a little inside when folks think it's that simple. As a software engineer, the solutions going forward are quite often a manifestation of what worked in the past. Now, as much as we could argue about how broken things are and how disgusting and self-serving and everything is a manifestation of collusion, plenty of things work. Credit is an incentive system. It allows entrepreneurs to do things that they otherwise couldn't do. It allows for growth. It allows for a new business idea to start. Credit, terms, escrow, arrangements, contracts, these are all integral components of a financial system. And they exist in our currently fucked financial system as well. And those are the things I hone in on and identify in these crypto markets that are innovative and really changing the nature of what is good, because these things are better. So what is better is obviously more good than the shit in the status quo system, in the historic system. So I don't have to, this entire stream, express my frustrations with the burden of understanding the way the world works. Now, we can talk about these crypto markets, because Bitcoin obviously blew past $60,000 as Hong Kong comes online with its ETFs and Ether as well, so everything's rallying. Look, there you go. That's even the Bitcoin rallying is a manifestation of geopolitical collusion. All of a sudden, the Bitcoin ETFs and the ETFs come online in Hong Kong, affecting the Bitcoin price. It's not really organic because everyone doesn't have access to it. There's gatekeepers, which is collusion. So the Bitcoin price is a manifestation of this geopolitical collusion in all regards. How the hell are you going to bet on that? And why do you want to bet? What's with the betting? The fact that we have to bet on things, that's not the way it should be. The average person shouldn't have to be betting. It's not fair. Betting requires skill, capacity, education, and work. Why should we have to do things like that? We should be able to be productive, be compensated for that productivity, accumulate capital, invest that capital into subsequent productive enterprise, which hopefully you get compensated for. And that's what we do. That's what those are the businesses that we own. And it just so happens the business that we own are core and critical to functional financial systems and innovative in all regards. All the insane bullshit we talked about at the start of the stream, everything I'm disgusted with in so many ways, are fixed by the likes of Uniswap. Literally just Uniswap. And dare we tack on, bifurcation of incentives and literally just the concept of incentive systems, but incentive systems that are deterministic and immutable. See, humans have a way of fucking up everything. So the best way to govern and organize humans is without humans, and that fixes everything. So Bitcoin does not fix it. Bitcoin fixes money, I would argue, but that's dependent on people using it as money, and no one uses it as money, like zero. So it may fix money if people use it as money. And in the meantime, its price action is literally denominated in dollars or respective collapsing fiat around the world. You realize everyone talks about Bitcoin as fixing money, yet everyone talks about Bitcoin in terms of a dollar price point or whatever currency, respective currency price point. So the thing I do is I look past a headline. I look past a narrative, a story, something that someone says, and I see how bullshit everything is. All these opinions, it's bullshit. Bitcoin doesn't fix anything tomorrow. And that's important to accept. And the reality is exactly what Joseph says here. Bitcoin goes higher. Everything goes higher. everything will go higher. And that's if the system doesn't implode first. And then it goes higher. But that's something we've talked about. So you see, looking past literally the headline that I've said, that, yeah, it all goes higher as the destination, and the path, does it go down first and then up, or just up? That's the reductionist perspective that I offer. Because it either goes down first and then higher, or the geopolitical collusion, the external forces have a capacity to smooth it out and allow it to go higher first. But either way, the destination is higher. Because if it does not go higher, you're going to be talking to Immortan Joe. One of these streams is going to be titled Immortan Joe. And I'm going to slap my face on him. Albeit he has the giant mask, so you won't necessarily see my face. But that's it. If the system doesn't go higher, we will have Immortan Joes. And it will be militias. It all fails. Everything falls apart. And that's a loaded phrase. But I've tried to be granular and describe to you what it means that it falls apart. And that's the story I tell you of that weirdness that you feel when you wake up and on like 2020, 2021, and you go into work and there's no one on the road at like 9 a.m. when rush hour and it's 100% open on the highway. And few remember 2001, but it's weird. Or the aftermath of a storm and you go outside and it's weird. Those are the conditions in which normalcy breaks down. And that is the precursor to chaos, social unrest. So if it does not go up, that is what occurs. Therefore, it will go up. It goes up. And that means, what does that mean with regard to choices, options? If it's not nailed down, you got to sell it at the best time possible. Yeah, good luck with that and with all the geopolitical collusion. And that's why I talk in terms of businesses. So I try and simplify it. Anyway, so hopefully that was somewhat of a coherent introductory conversation. But between the likes of basically so many people subscribing to this type of perspective, so many macro folks that literally talk in terms of the cycles, the business cycle, and all the shit that used to mean something prior to 2008 that are completely irrelevant now. And basically everyone talks in terms of the way Raoul Pal most effectively describes why it goes up. That's real. And then this shit. Oh my God. This is the capacity of our dear leaders? The Council of Economic Advisors. Zero critical capacity to explain it in simple terms. Did I not just explain it in simple terms? Now, maybe the explanation requires an explanation, but that's the whole point of an ongoing conversation. We don't print money because that destroys trust. We borrow money because that prints treasuries. And the world uses those treasuries to print dollars. That's why. Why couldn't he say something like that? He's clearly not the captain of shit at the Council of Economic Advisors. Ida, good morning. DA Advisor, good morning. G to the M, Jonathan. Sergio, present. Good morning. DeFi Advisor, Athletic Concept. What advice would you give to a 28-year-old in his second cycle in crypto? Capital is needed for assets that you own, but I see the value in those assets. Capital is needed for the assets that you own, but I see the value in those assets. Okay, so 28-year-old advice. Time. The hardest thing the adolescent has to do is to understand time and how time does work. The few stories you see about people making millions on meme coins, right time, right place, quick trigger, irrational, commonly defined as left curve methodology. The few. Do not ascribe to be the few. The majority cannot be the few. The majority could be the majority. If you try and be the few, the odds are significantly against success. To significantly increase the odds of success, increase the time with regard to expectations. At 28 years old, it is very easy to have an 8-year time horizon. Most people in traditional finance talk in terms of 5-year and 10-year plans. Great. Fortunately, the entire damn world has been reduced to 4-year cycles. So an 8-year time horizon is quite reasonable. Time. Now, obviously, there's a variety of methodologies, and you require probably a threshold of capital to start thinking in terms of purchasing businesses and purchasing cash flow. So generally, my advice to the most adolescent of adolescences that don't understand macro financials and don't even understand the world in which they exist, they don't understand the matrix in which they are plugged into, is dollar cost averaging. It's very simple because most kids have a relatively limited income stream. They're just barely getting acquainted with bank accounts. So just dollar cost average. Why? Why dollar cost average? Because it gets you off zero. Have assets versus not have assets. I strongly argue that I don't give a shit about 70, 80% or Bitcoin drawdowns of previous cycles or the altcoin apocalypse of 2022. My argument is that the goal is that you have assets at discounted prices such that the next higher low is extraordinary. If an asset goes 100x and collapses 90% to a 10x, a 10x in a 4-year period is extraordinary. So let's say you've DCA'd assets for 4 years. You've ridden all-time high and then crashed to a fresh low, which is a higher low, obviously. That is imperative, absolutely critical experience to be able to navigate markets. You absolutely need to experience that, period. Life's all about experiences. And if you haven't experienced that, you're missing something. Because I argue that businesses, great, our portfolios run 100x on the money. They crash 90%. You're sitting on a 10x over a 4-year period. What happens the next cycle? They run to the banana zone. Shit runs whatever multiples and then crashes and you hit another 10x. So in an 8-year period, your portfolio runs 100x on the money. That seems like a pretty interesting expectation, quite reasonable. It's compounding, 10x and then a 10x, and it's not doesn't have a compressed time horizon, and it was probably under expecting. Why do I say under expecting? Which is quite fascinating in crypto terms, because we're talking about the adoption of an emerging market of emerging markets. So we could always circle back around to the scale and scope of the true nature of the shit that we're discussing. It's not this kid shit. It's not this kiddie playground of these crypto markets. And I'm on Coinbase. I'm going to buy a meme coin and a dog coin. No. Talking about literally global financials. Real stuff at the global level. And that's why I've discussed big things like emerging markets. And dare we talk about an emerging market of emerging markets. And dare we talk about the fact that these are new emerging markets. That doesn't happen in the real world. There's no popping up of new countries. They don't just poof into existence. But in crypto terms, that is what occurs. That is what has occurred, and that is what is currently. These networks are akin to emerging markets. complete with all the characteristics, including endogenous currency printing. And that's crazy. So it is very hard to even get a sense of where things are probably going to be in 2027, 2028. So that's why you need to be able to get to 2027 and 2028. And that's why DCA is just fine for even a 28-year-old. DCA, because if you have never, well, so bear in mind you did say second crypto cycle. So bear in mind if you haven't ridden the cycle from top to bottom, that's an absolutely mission critical experience. And if you end the cycle lower where you started with regard to, I guess, total portfolio value, which is in a whole separate conversation of the significance of total portfolio value, that means you bought at the wrong time. That means you didn't buy at a discount. DCA solves that. So that's why that sequence of events is critical. If you're dollar cost averaging on the way up and on the way down, you at some point you bought at a discount, and the average price is probably going to be significantly lower to whatever bottom is, because everything deviates to the downside, and then you have a mean regression back to the average, back to neutral, and then it deviates to the upside. You see that right in the chart. We're going to go over to Bitcoin. You go over to the 6-month chart. Zoom. Not the 6-month. Give it the 3-month. So you're buying on the way up, and you're buying on the way down. At some point, you're buying below the average. And that's a significant deviation from the average. Pardon my zoom. Let's get a price range. So here's the average. And you were literally buying at 42% below the average price. And you were buying at 161% above the average price. So maybe it's skewed, and maybe your average price is like in the 30s. So that's what DCA produces. You're buying on the way up and you're buying on the way down. And you get to experience the up and the down. Because how else are you going to be able to own businesses and experience the up and the down and be productive during the up and the down? So you're capable of having income during good times and bad times without first having even navigated the good times and the bad times. So what I'm describing is methodology for survival and continuity. You need to be able to just exist. So the emotions get in the way. So bear in mind, this is also my methodology, and that's biased towards everything I've come to be with regard to managing capital. And it's up to people whether they subscribe to what I discuss or whether they want to be the trader, the ultimate trader, the few that turns 10 grand into $100 million, becomes the next Justin Sun. What's the odds of that, though, compared to failure? So at least what I discuss and encourage has significantly improved odds of success as compared to failure. So that is what I would encourage for the adolescents and the youth, at least persons more youthful than I. Hope that helps, Athletic Concept. Yeah, second live stream of the same week, unheard of. Oh, you made it. Yep, second. That's good. Good topics of conversation in this insane matrix that we're plugged into. Captain, thoughts about options and financial instruments? So options and derivatives. So options are derivatives and financial instruments are derivatives. So what you're describing is derivatives. There's 3 things in finance. There's credit, foreign exchange, and derivatives. That's it. There's other stuff, but I guess the point is those 3 really encompass almost everything. Suffice it to say, I have no problem with options, and I want to make money when people use them. So Pendle's cool. That's all derivatives. Pendle's paying 70% of the money on like a stake DAO. No real vote rental revenue. I'm not fond of voter escrow at the Pendle level. It doesn't have a federation whatsoever. So people that got an early price on Pendle, it's good. They're making some nice revenue. The Pendle pays. How sustainable it is, I don't know. Because how are you going to know without a federation? And the only comparison is Curve. and hasn't experienced the down cycle yet. So certainly is at a premium. I was looking at the chart because it pays nicely. It's at a premium. It hasn't experienced the full crash. So how the hell, Anyway, so point being, this is derivatives. It's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Who said this? Yeah, options as a financial instrument. Yeah. It's separation of. I mean, literally, this is zero coupon bonds. That's the methodology. Separate the principal from the income, from the cash flow, from the interest. Very interesting. So we're rebuilding traditional finance in hopefully novel ways, and the bifurcation of incentives is certainly a novel way, in my opinion. Also, regards to the DeFi space, yeah, I hope that explains it best I can. Personally, I like to sell an underlying by selling calls and purchasing an underlying and selling puts the buffer way. Thoughts about that? Seems like you're doing a lot of work. Sounds good. If it works for you, cool. I don't want to do that kind of work. The Buffett way is kind of to own businesses and look at all the cash flow Berkshire Hathaway gets. It's just all cash flow. So the core of his business is what I subscribe to. Simple as that. Amazing explanation to that crazy video. Got to go now. We'll rewatch later. Have a good one. Much a pleasure. Good morning, collectors. H. Mac. Matt says, Cap. Why does it keep scrolling on me? Can you expound on all the traditional business costs, property tax, wages, insurance that don't exist in crypto businesses? Seems like a huge benefit that can be overlooked. So the biggest problem in human resources is humans. Who has said that before? Fortunately, robotics cures that. The biggest problems in accounting is the concept of accounting. Why can't it just be all on chain? Oh, great. That's exactly what they built. They built the blockchain where everything is all on chain. Uh, Real estate? What do you need real estate for? So if you have a bank, oh my God, what do you need real estate for? Well, literally apps on a cell phone. And you go to your computer, you set up direct deposit. What do you need to walk into a bank for? What do you need paper money for? The vast majority of the United States doesn't use paper money. It's a very antiquated concept in a digital world. So the businesses that we deal with have no property tax because they have no property. They have no wage taxes because they have no employees, no salaries. Insurance for what? Not the property, and certainly no health insurance for the employees that they don't have. So there is literally no OPEX or CAPEX requirements associated with these credit, foreign exchange, and derivative businesses. No, their balance sheets, they could have debt, but look at Frax Finance's balance sheet, online balance sheet. Do I have it? Do we see the do we see the balance sheet so easily? I don't remember if they have a link to it right here. Governance, classic UI, Frax. I'm not going to search for too much, but discussion, FX Govs, miscellaneous. Audit? No, that's probably their software audits. Docs, terms, privacy. You'd think there'd be a nice link to it. They have a very nice balance sheet dashboard. Balance sheet, as in balance sheet, like a accounting balance sheet, like QuickBooks balance sheet. Balance sheet, balance sheet. Crypto protocols quite often have zero debt, so there's no chance of insolvency. Kind of changes everything. And you're dealing with credit and foreign exchange first and foremost. Derivatives, I kind of ignore. I'm not too interested in derivatives. I like the biggest business in the world. Albeit derivatives is, like swaps and and, and obviously the derivatives market, and the BIS reports that as a couple $100 trillion notional. So credit and foreign exchange, you're literally talking about Eurodollar market and the FX market out of England. Biggest business in the world. So we're literally talking about banking. So the business we own are banks. This is banking. Do you need someone to I'm not saying you, Matt, but I'm saying, do people need someone to tell them it's a bank for it to be a bank? I sure as hell don't need someone to tell me something is something when I see something is something. So when you go to even our favorite protocols, pick a protocol. It's foreign exchange. It's a bank. That's what banks do. Credit, lending. There's private lending and mortgages, rocket mortgage, I don't know, whatever. But that's banking, made private instead of a public company. Commercial banks, the traditional mortgage lender. But they're banks. It's banking. Bank, 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 bank. Oh, there's banks everywhere. Obviously, a bank. It's a bank. Anyway, so you got banks with no property tax, no wage tax, no insurance, no human resources, no real estate, and optimally no debt. And most of them have no debt. So that is a massive benefit that is completely overlooked and not understood. So banks with no debt and no capex and opex. Pretty interesting stuff. The con is a good time to sell. You tell me. How, how would I know? Anything at some point, anything that's not nailed down should be sold. Sold for what? And rebuy what? At what time? Sounds complicated. I don't want to do that. I want to buy businesses at a cheap price, which is very Warren Buffety. What did Buffett do? Fire sale, liquidation, hostile takeover. That's how he got to where he is, by buying functional businesses under duress. Simple equation. Requires patience. And that's where he won, and that's why he is who he is. Patience. He's sitting on what, 100 and what? How much cash is he sitting on? Why? That's burning and melting. Why is he sitting on it? Because his methodology requires him to. He must wait until there's something under duress, because he's not going to pay a premium for something. He wants to buy things at a discount. Very Buffett methodology. Iden, Levy's next level. Yep, HMAC. Nope. This guy asks the best questions always. DA advisor fact. To sell is to lose your position. Okay, so I often say we're collectors, which is exactly what Matt said. Your goal as an investor is to accumulate assets, to be a collector of assets. So, next step. When is the opportune time to collect assets? At a discount. You want to buy them cheap. Do you want to pay a premium on your car? I mean, a lot of people out there are paying fuck tons of premiums on cars. There's some good discounts nowadays, but if you're astute or competent in any regard, you don't want to overpay. You want a discount. You want a coupon. You want a sale. You want to pay less rather than more. I mean, that just makes sense. And then if you own something and you sell it at a loss, that seems like a pretty shitty deal. One, hopefully you made some capital. Two, unfortunately, a lot of people lose capital. And three, you no longer have an asset. So the concept of ownership, this really dates back to like old school, like common law type stuff, like property ownership. The concept of owning something in your name, is probably one of the greatest extensions of humanity, the concept of ownership and title. This was like lords and stuff back in ancient England. Ownership, assets, accumulating assets, that's this whole game. So buying and selling them? Why sell them? So the question becomes, you want to buy them, never sell them, so what do you buy? Hopefully it's businesses. And property, historically, is what people talk about. That's productive property because people lease them from you. People start businesses on them and you get a royalty maybe if that's in your deed or whatever, your contract, lease agreement. So winning is having more and more and more assets over time, which is why I don't subscribe to the concept of trading. buying and selling to lose a position because that does not compute with the captain. Selling options. Okay, selling options is interesting. So the only negative I could say about selling options is work. It takes work. Because if you sell them at the wrong price point or the wrong expiration, you could lose your assets. So, and there's risk because you could lose your assets. So that's cool. And obviously, as I always say, to each their own. It's not something I subscribe to. Um, I just want productive business. So the reason selling options produces income is because of the work put into it to sell them at the right price point and the right expiration. That's the way that works. Smartest guy I know, most educated about options, any other. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's complicated though. I'm sure everyone agrees. And then there is potential for loss. That's work. You're the business. You're putting in the time and effort to actually sell them and make sure they expire unexecuted. I'd rather someone else do that work for me. I'd rather own a business that's selling options. Oh, interestingly enough, that's literally what Pendle is. It's basically selling derivatives, and it has its bifurcated monetary policy for incentive system, and it's paying you. So that's what these systems are. They're a way of bifurcating work. That's what ownership is. You own a business that's dealing with options. Great. Let the person who's at the business dealing with the options do it. I just copy my paycheck because I own the business. That's all I argue. There's nothing wrong with derivatives. I've clearly stated I define financials in terms of credit, foreign exchange, and derivatives. You own a credit business? Cool. You own a foreign exchange business? Cool. You own a derivatives business? Cool. Where's my claim button? That's all I care about. And that's what a business owner is. Hope that helps explain my perspective. Alpha Centaur from Lyra on Leviathan. Yep. Options. History of options is in fact ancient, of course. History of all this stuff. So everything in crypto goes back to the origins of finance. Catching the live stream on a Friday. Bill, welcome. Mike Maloney, referring to secrets of money. Credit influences human progress. Well, credit, of course, influences human progress. Credit is what manifests growth and opportunity. Without credit, an entrepreneur does not start a business. Credit is a critical component of a functioning financial system. Bitcoin fixes nothing without credit. Bitcoin may fix money, but a functional financial system requires credit. Without it, there is no incentive to take risk. Therefore, there is no growth, no technological innovation, no nothing. So you cannot fix finance by just fixing money. Ben Ruga, I know you don't like liquid lockers, but I was just buying Pendle from Staked Out, peg around 40%, worth the risk. Yeah, I was looking at the Pendle. I just can't really stomach the price point. Where? So I've been defining the sexy zone recently. Call it the sexy zone, ladies and gentlemen. And the sexy zone just screams. It's like right there, something like that. Now you could do a very broad sexy zone. It's like just first leg up. Where's the low and where's bottom? And then obviously that's a broad range from like 390 to 230. So you get a little bit more granular in here. So maybe sexy zone is down here. So you have the sexy zone and the sexy-er zone. So here's your sexy-er zone. And we could change the color of the sexy-er zone to green. Sexy zone, sexy-er zone. Way above the sexy zones. Look at that premium, baby. Ooh. Yeah. Frankly, Staked Out is extraordinary. Where was I looking at them? I have them up here. I mean, what with the way they've pivoted over the years. It's extraordinary. And this presentation has come so far. Very impressive to say the least. This is actually interesting. I notice how it's literally a convex dashboard. And that's why DeFi moves at warp speed, because everyone's literally using everyone's technology. It's quite remarkable. Um, Very interesting. Where's the 90%? Dollars, fine. TBTC collateral, 65%. 137, who gives you the boost. Stake down is a tremendous amount of curve convex. So there you go. 31% of GUSD? That's crazy. I love CRVUSD. I think it changes everything with regard to it's literally, the pinnacle of a stablecoin in my opinion, and that's coming from me understanding what money is and understanding how credit works. I don't think there's anything better. Um, Ave's been talking about it. You saw that governance proposal folks talk about, and Mitch responding. But that's frankly what I think everyone wants. Like Aave comes out with something better, and then someone else can make something better, and then you're leapfrogging on one another, and you're always making something better. That's the whole point. Anyway, Staked Out has come a long way, and there's infinite choices on what to invest in. The point being is just really structuring it so you can survive and sustainably engage with the markets, and don't buy things at a premium. Either get them at a discount and Warren Buffett the shit out of this stuff, or you're probably going to be underwater at some point. Look, it drops to, you buy it now at $5, it drops to some catastrophe happens and you could have bought it at $1, and then at the end of the year it's at $8. At some point, up only. At some point it will go up, very up, if it survives, if it continues to exist into the future. Any one of these crypto protocols, especially the ones we discussed, that continue to exist into the future, are going to be at a higher price because of the composition of the global currency supply. So the only real thing to assess is what are the odds, Z, X, Y, Z, that they're going to continue to exist into the future, and just the time in which that is to take place. If they continue to exist, and then you could also assess which are the stronger businesses that will generate more revenue and have more customers. DA Advisor, that's right, take on risk. Yield, Bain Ruga, 70%, big deal. We like the smart contracts. Yeah, that kind of fixes everything. You want to fix financials, you need determinism and immutability. How are you feeling about Aave v4 using sauce liquidation tech from Llama? Potential opportunity, take market share from Curve? No, separate business. Aave is a money market. Curve is a CDP. It's a credit facility. Separate business, excuse me. Completely separate. Market share in what regard? I don't think Go, maybe if they mutate Go, but there's plenty of room in these markets for competing products. I don't see any issue in that regard. Sure, check back in 4 years and maybe I eat my words. But the point is, at this point in time, this is so nascent. Everything in these markets is like test and prod. Not Andre style, but test and prod no less. This is all like alpha testnet. Right now, all of this. Come back when there's $10 trillion in the DeFi space. Dollars, liabilities, not TVO bullshit. And then we could assess we're starting to get into a market, a mature market, not testnet. Hope that helps. That just gives, I say that in regards to like time and expectations. That's how early things are. And I'll probably say things are still early in 2027, 2028. Check back in 2040. I mean, come on. Are folks living for next year? No. You got a long life to live, unless you're in your like 70s, 80s, and 90s. But according to demographics, the average age of persons watching me are 30 to 40. So, got plenty of time. So think a little bit further ahead. Quacks like a duck, ducks like a duck. It is a bank. Period. And that's what's so awesome about not needing someone's approval, not needing someone to tell you what is. These things are what they are. It's obvious. Smaller portfolio, around 10% pending position. Okay. Bit of a premium. Obviously, with the wrapper's probably at a discount to some degree. But, cash flow is cash flow. And the whole goal is in the future to have more cash flow over time. Matt, you're very welcome. Snow, greetings, Senor Capitan. Much a pleasure. Facts. There is the balance sheet. Yeah, facts. I don't have it though. Is that a separate website? Where's the URL? Where's the URL? Someone throw the URL to Facts. Here. Boom. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, it is Frax Finance. Frax Lend. It's within Frax Lend. Where's the balance sheet? No, I don't want Frax Lend. I want the balance sheet. FBI. Balance sheet. Oh! How lovely is this? This is the balance sheet. Assets. Lent assets. Credit. Uh, Locked liquidity. I guess that's assets. Yeah, assets. Assets. And liabilities. Lent assets, I guess is an interesting category, but you have assets and liabilities on the balance sheet. And the balance is in the green. Boy, it's got 110 mil in the green on the balance sheet. It's balance sheet. Assets and liabilities. Double entry accounting. Where's the debt line? I guess lent assets are debt, so there is debt here. But it's in the green considering their debt. Oh, all right, so it's a solvent balance sheet. That's pretty cool. Cappy the Goat, ain't no second way around it. I appreciate you too, my friend. Butterfly, good old crypto ETF. It's good tech, good tech. The sexiest zone is under the graph to the left. Oh, yeah, that's another story. Oh, yeah, on Pendle? Yeah, I think I don't have the earliest times on that. I think it's got to be 100x for a lot of people. CRVUSD is the GOAT's not even close. Not even close. Oh, yes, by the way, Cap, what do you think about Michael Inave's constructive, leapfrog, everyone builds on everyone? I think Mitch wants to show them and the audience he knows it's based on Lamalan, and to be honest, they could and they have a great relationship, Ave and Mitch over the years. So I don't think it's going to head down a road of recognition, non-offering of recognition. Competition is healthy. Now maybe they'll onboard SCVX. Yeah, we'll see. Well, from an Aave perspective, that's what Bill's saying, DA advisor. And yes, competition is great, yet respect and acknowledging greatness is also something to it. I'm sure they will. Cap, can you mention some of the basic points in your mind makes CRV USD the best position stablecoin? It's the rapid response of interest rates. I mean, the peg keepers are crazy. You could suppress the price of a currency easily. It's just print more of it. That's what the peg keepers do. But in order to increase the price of a currency, which CRVUSD is, it's a currency pegged to a dollar. It's the same way every nation state currency works. And you need to raise interest rates. So different from a nation state, you have people at a board, and they're usually white and pasty, old. And in the U.S., they call it the FOMC. And every 3 months they wave a magic wand and set interest rate policy. But in the crypto space, dynamic interest rate policy to manage a peg, well, literally the business is a peg, and it's a little different with regard to like central banks. There's so many more scenarios to consider and why they're adjusting policy. But fortunately, in these crypto markets, the only thing to consider is the peg. It's not like you have an entire economy of people to deal with. And credit and lending, and it's literally the entire purpose is to restore peg. and to manage peg. So how do you increase the price of a currency? You raise interest rates. How do you lower the price of a currency? You print it. And that works the same way for nation states, except the difference is with regard to the CRV-USD implementation, it's completely deterministic and immutable. There's no white and pasty board. There's no humans involved. The software is software-ing. It just does it. And that's brilliant. And it just so happens the soft liquidation model is innovative from a crypto landscape perspective alone. And the dynamic interest rate adjustments for CRV-USD, nothing compares. Nothing compares to the dollar liabilities produced by Curve. Nothing. It's the fastest responding interest rate, and it's just, frankly, it's brilliant. And I look forward to the next iteration. I look forward to seeing what Aave comes up with and how it'll push Mitch to keep up from a Curve perspective. And all of this just is tantalizing from a 2027 to 2028 perspective. And dare we go into the 30s, 2030s. It's just fascinating because nation states can't keep up. Nation states just can't do anything like this. You know, it's like, oh, I hope the United States makes a better. No, they're not going to fucking do shit. You got all these old people at the banks, and they can't innovate for shit. We have no tech innovation, and from a financial system perspective, it's all. Oh, they came out with a new ETF. Oh my. So there's been no financial innovation forever, and now we're literally dealing with new primitives, new collaterals, new credit, new liability systems. That's what CRV-USD is. It's somewhat of a liability. I mean, there's collateral underlying it, so it's akin to Eurodollar. It's a bank deposit and credit against it. It's literally a Eurodollar because there is no dollars backing Eurodollars. It's literally collateral that the bank has to liquidate and manage its capacity to have a solvent balance sheet, which optimally is managed with interest rates. So if you adjust the interest rate up, it forces people to repay their debt. And that allows buy pressure, that forces buy pressure on CRV-USD. It's a brilliant design. It takes a page right out of traditional stablecoin design in crypto markets, a page out of the Eurodollar market, a page out of interest rate policy at a central bank level. It's just completely brilliant. Can you look at the fallow chart? I don't know what it is. I'm not going to look into it because I don't know what it is. Van Brugge on the left, white and pasty, makes me think of Weird Al Yankovic. Whatever it makes me think of, is just like that's the composition of the Federal Reserve. Maybe not white. Let's just say pasty in terms of old. And it's an old institution. Everything's old about it. What's with people and nostalgia and old? The future. New, innovative. Everyone just goes back and, oh, the way it was. No, motherfucker, make it new. It happens in software. It's like, oh, is there a regression? Sure. Do we go back? No. We move forward. Oh, fascination with the past. Yeah, it's quite enjoyable to understand history in the past, but you're moving forward. Tomorrow is tomorrow. It's not yesterday. So I can't stand when there's pressures in politics. Oh, the days have passed. In software, oh, the older version. In even religion, it's like the past. The past is the past. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow is coming whether you like it or not. Tomorrow matters more than the past. Oh, so important to be excited about the future and not dwell and then miss the past. Tomorrow. Anyway, I hope that helps. Old breeds comfort for some. No, it's fear. Because they don't know what's coming tomorrow. Old breed. I take pause when I hear old brings comfort. No, it's just fear. Shape the future. Drive the future. Fight for the future. Innovate. Because tomorrow's coming, no matter how comfortable someone is thinking of the past. Make America new for what? Yeah, right? Do something new. Can't you do something new? Can you shake it up a little bit? No, everything's rigid. All the laws and the rules. It's so old. Oh, hope something new happens in my lifetime, and I'm just not really very um, expecting of that to occur. Albeit maybe these crypto markets will force new and force nation states to compete instead of just being as messed up as they historically are. Anyway, listen, I wish you all a good one. Thank you all. It's Friday, May 3rd, 12:41 p.m. 276 human beings made it to the end of the stream. I appreciate each and every one of you listening to my ranting and raving in the monologue. The QA, I hope, helps everyone. It's a Friday, so enjoy your weekend. Unplug a little bit. May the 4th be with you is tomorrow. Watch a Star Wars movie, for Christ's sake. And I'll see you guys after the weekend. See you guys next week on a Monday. Peace.